some of the other pressure that's being brought to bear. Let's talk about the latest situation with the oligarchs here. So let's go ahead and throw this first piece up on the screen. So the Germans have seized a Russian billionaire's super yacht. This ship, are they called ships? Is that what they call them?
I think it's a yacht. I don't really know.
Is there a difference between a yacht and a ship? I don't really know.
There's some naval people screaming into their cars right now. I truly have no idea.
Yeah, okay, all right. I know people get very picky about these distinctions. Anyway, this giant super yacht, one of the largest in the world, was seized in Germany. We've had new indications from the US government that they want to even expand their list of which oligarchs are sanctioned. We've also had reports from the UK, because a lot of their money and toys are stashed there as well, that they're going to get more serious about cracking down. This is another interesting thing that we've been tracking here, is a little bit of schisms in the Russian oligarch community with regards to their orientation towards the Kremlin. So put this next piece up on the screen. We had told you before that this particular Russian billionaire, who Roman Abramovich, who owned the Chelsea Football Club, initially he was stepping back from that ownership. Now he's saying he's selling it all together and will use the proceeds to benefit, quote, all victims of the war in Ukraine. So clearly there's not just direct government pressure. There's also a lot of sort of social, cultural, public pressure being brought to bear on these individuals. I have no problem with that whatsoever. However, the other side of this, and this gets a little bit tricky, but this is really important, is, of course, all of these global financial institutions, they're the ones that handle the money. They're the ones that finance the super yachts, that finance the private jets. And so you can't just go after the oligarchs. You have to make sure that, you know, these global financial institutions are also playing ball. And that gets very uncomfortable for governments like ours that are in bed with these very same banks. So one instance of this, let's put the Financial Times tear sheet up on the screen, is Credit Suisse. They have asked investors to destroy documents linked to oligarch and tycoon yacht loans, which is a little suspicious. They've asked hedge funds and other investors, this is a quote from them, to destroy documents relating to its richest clients' yachts and private jets in an attempt to stop information leaking about a unit of the bank that has made loans to oligarchs who were later sanctioned. Investors this week received letters from the Swiss bank requesting they destroy the documents relating to a securitization of loans backed by jets, yachts, real estate, and or other financial assets. That's according to 3 people whose firm received the request. This story actually goes even a level deeper. Credit Suisse had massive losses because of previous rounds of oligarch sanctions, because they were sort of a key player in the financing of the oligarch jet and yacht market. And so what they did to help to lower their own losses is they bundled these all together, they turned them into a security, and then they sold them off to these hedge funds to try to limit their own risk. So that's why these hedge funds had these documents detailing all of these sort of like oligarch yacht and private jet loans. And that's why they're being told, okay, let's not really highlight the fact, let's keep any other leaks from coming out about just how involved we are with this dirty money. So that's piece number 1. Piece number 2, and this is from our great friends at the Daily Poster, David Sirota and co. So they're, at the same time that they're asking these investors to destroy documents, the Biden administration is potentially taking a sort of giving Credit Suisse a pass on an exemption that they need in order to be able to be involved in pension funds. So again, this gets to our government and other governments around the world going to be willing to actually hold these financial institutions to account in order to effectively sanction these oligarchs. And there's some indications that they're going to kind of give Credit Suisse a pass, allow them to have an exemption that allows them to continue to profit in the pension retirement fund industry, even though they have been convicted of fraud and should be kicked out of that market. So again, the reason this is significant is because it's an indication of whether or not the Biden administration is going to really do what it takes to go after these finances and this dirty money.
Yeah, no, that's why it matters the most on all of this. And it's actually very interesting to consider the architecture of the West's financial system. For as much as we like to think that we're clean and we have all these banking regulations, here's the truth. We invited these Russians over here. Why? Because we wanted their money.
Yeah.
That's what you think all of Europe opened its doors and was like, come on in, we got banks. Oh, you want to hang out in Monaco? It's all good. Oh, you like this? Oh, we'll take your credit whenever it comes to this. Oh, the Swiss have your back? Oh, great. Sounds good. We accept the check, Mr. Abramovich. Welcome to Chelsea. You know, this is exactly the problem, which is that for years, we were willing to play footsie. The entire West, and I'm using the royal we, was willing to play footsie with this Russian money because they had a ton of it. And this is the thing, too, about Russia. They're not even that big of they don't even punch that big on the world stage. These oligarchs, they're from all over the world, use the Western financial system to wash their cash and to use their dirty money to purchase influence and to live lavish lifestyles. I mean, the Chinese own half of New York, along with the Russians. That's where half of it is. The Brazilians, Latin American oligarchs, they own all of Miami. In terms of London is literally known as a Russian hub for oligarchs. And part of the reason why even some of the British crackdown on the oligarchs rhetorically might be there, in terms of what I've been reading, in terms of the actual enforcement, it would cause like an actual recession in terms of the housing market for the highest of the high-end real estate. In the city of London.
Can't have a high-end real estate recession.
It's like little
God
Moscow.
forbid.
Yeah, I know. It's like little Moscow in certain parts of High Kensington and some of these areas in London. Same in the south of France. I mean, if you even go there, to see anybody who is not from, Saudi Arabia or a despot regime is out of the ordinary. So I think that's what it really reveals to me, is just how corrupt and how much corrupt money is in the global financial system and is readily allowed that we don't even get to see until this happens. Yeah. I have no sympathy for these people. Screw them, take their yachts, make their lives miserable. They're not good, but the fact that it was even here in the first place, that reveals a lot about us.
Yeah.
A lot of us were willing to just cash those checks and not ask any questions.
100%.
Right.
And I think the previous report that we brought you yesterday from the Daily Poster is also an important piece of this. And just to remind you of those details, because Wall Street has made our financial system so opaque, so that, a lot of these luxury condominium, multi-million-dollar condos that are being snatched up in places like Manhattan, like you can't even tell who the owner is because there's such a series of shell companies and it's so incredibly opaque. And so when, the Biden administration says we're going to sanction these oligarchs, it makes it very difficult to actually do that, because if you don't know what they own, then you can't really sanction them. So the fact that Wall Street has made those the financial system so lacking in transparency makes it more difficult to kind of exact any pain on the ruling elite class. I'm going to be talking in my monologue about how I think those types of sanctions are what we should be leaning into, and that the history of leaning into broad sanctions that devastate the entire public is not one that has resulted in, the outcomes that we would like to see, not to mention the immoral dimension of that. But the financial system has completely hobbled our ability to go after people who have dirty money, effectively.
Here's another one, Krystal. It just came out of the Times of London this morning, which is that building the sanctions case against Abramovich and many of these other Russians in London, quote, may take months because the Foreign Office and the National Crime Agency has to have, quote, reasonable grounds for designating the oligarchs, which requires them to then go through and subpoena their banks and have to look at all this. So, it's just another example, right, of how difficult it's going to actually be given the architecture of this money. And when you allow it in the first place to worm its way into your financial system and into your society, it is so incredibly difficult to root out. This is why even letting them in the first place was a colossal and a gigantic mistake.
Well,
I'm not just talking about the Russians. I'm talking about all oligarchs of the third world.
I have a solution to this. Yeah. I think we should just seize all of the super yachts and the private jets. And that way, we can just take care of it. Then there's no hypocrisy. There's no saying our oligarchs are better than those oligarchs. Let's just get all of the super yachts off the map, and then we'll be.
As long as they seize Jeff Bezos's rocket as well, then I'm cool.
Okay, I'm down. I'm definitely down with that. The rockets and the
leave
private
SpaceX
jets
alone.
And the super yachts. Yes, I'm good with all of that. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.